Hey guys, today I'm making a solo guide for Armadyl. And the solo guides I will be making are mainly geared towards higher levels, not so much the lower levels, while the basics of it will still work for the lower levels. The minimum requirements I would recommend are currently on the screen. Now these aren't required skills, but I would recommend not soloing without these. I've soloed with 85 range and it's just not efficient whatsoever. So I would recommend having 90 plus range with a chaotic crossbow. I wouldn't recommend using the rune piece of crap. I would recommend 92 herblore for overloads or at least extremes because they do make a big difference. 88 summoning for a unicorn. 80 magic for the quick kill count with a polypore. That's just more of a bonus for speed on the kill count. It's not really required. However, a higher mage does help you with mage defense and taking damage from Kree and the minions. I recommend a high defense, and that's definitely not required because I've seen level 1 defense solo Armadyl, but that is very inefficient and I highly recommend a high defense. Also, enhanced Excalibur to reverse your overload effect, HP wise, and it heals you a good amount. And now on to the gear. To start off, we have the lowest gear I would recommend for even attempting to solo. And the Glaven boots can be substituted for Rangers or Snakeskin if need be. I just do not own those to show them. But the Goliath gloves they're better than the Barrow's gloves, and well, they don't degrade when you range, so that's good. Chaotic crossbow, I would not recommend rune, but it's still possible to do it, just not efficiently. Normally with this set I would have an Elysian, but I have a Spectral as it's a lower setup gear, which it's plenty. You got the mage defense is what you need. Imbued rings help. I use Dragonstone imbued because it's cheap and it has both offensive and defensive stats. The setups is with Krill, and you need the armor helm or else you'll get destroyed by the minions. Another gear set I would recommend at about the same level as Kirill's is the Royal Dragonhide, and that would be used as the same setup as Kirill's, just without the Kirills. Next gear setup is the full armor setup. And again, I still have the Spectral, as I do not have my Elysian right now. But either way could work, or even a Divine. And this setup, I would use Rangers or Glavens only. I wouldn't recommend Snakeskin, because you got to step it up a notch when you use the Armadyl. And the highest setup I'm going to show, which is the one I'm going to use for the solo kill just to make it a little smoother, is the Pernix cowl and chaps with an armor chestplate, simply because I can't afford the Pernix top to go with it. But with this, you have the high hit points, you have a good magic defense, good other defenses, and the hit points boost is really helpful all the time. Next, I'll be showing you a good inventory setup using just about any setup, but primarily aim for the Armadyl or Pernix. The first inventory setup I'm showing is a little bit geared towards the armor a little bit more. And I have Enhanced Excalibur, you need that as your special to get rid of the overload damage. Always have renewals because it completely cancels out your prayer if you just use the range pray. And about the prayers, I do recommend it being on curses for solos simply because you can soul split off the minions, which is very helpful. Next, I have some super prayers and only a few restores because you don't really need that much prayer. And then I just have a random amount of brews. I have both my bolt types up here as I have Mythril Grapple equipped. And I have a Polypore and an Illuminated Unholy Book for the Armadyl setup, so you have protection from Zamorak. And also I found Polypore to be much faster at getting kill count. This next setup is geared towards the Pernix, and the only change I made, just because I've honestly never used the Pernix at Armadyl for a solo before, it's experimental for me as well, is the Arcane Stream, because you don't need the protection from Zamorak as the Pernix already covers it, and it'll increase the speed at which you get kill count, and also the minions are pretty weak to the mage of the Polypore, which makes the Polypore a very good weapon to have for Armadyl. For the inventory, depending on what gear setup you use, I would use a little bit less prayer, just a slight bit, and a little bit more bruise. Also, with the pernic setup that I show, I can last more than the 3 overloads. Not quite 4 full ones, but probably at least half of the 4th. And I'm here at Uglog because before a bossing trip, you always want to make sure you do the pools, and you also do, which I did forget to do until I mentioned it, the fire making boost, because that helps a lot. It really does. Step outside the bank, light the fire. And I already have a lot of health points, but this helps plus the pool, and going into Arma I have a lot of health points. Now this lasts, with Magic Log, it lasts for 1 hour, which is enough for kill count and probably 50 minutes or so, depending on how good the polypore hits of actual Arma, which I think is pretty good. And make sure I got the boost. I did get the boost. Let me go, and actually during the inventory setup I did forget to bring a 1-click telly, which is pretty useful. You want to have that telly to get out of there if prayer drops. Would not be fun. So always run to this pool right here, and this gives you unlimited run, helps you going through Trollhem, the icy part, so you don't get slowed down at the wolves, which I believe the quest to have these pools is as a last resort, but I could be wrong, so don't quote me on that. Then after that you want to run to the health pool, and see my health is 1545, was 1546 just a split second ago, which will help me a lot. And another thing I did forget to do, always summon a unicorn behind you, and then bring a spare pouch. But it depends on how many overloads you have. With 3 overload flash, you'll need 1 behind you and 1 in your inventory. Any more, and you'll need a second unicorn in your inventory. And you don't need 2.6k scrolls at all. I just bring a lot because I like to just put all but 1. I think it just makes it so much more simple. So I pray at the altar, and I'll resume once I get inside the kill count room to show just about how the kill count works with all the bots. So now that I'm in the kill count room, you notice there are tons of bots all over the place, hundreds of white dots on the screen. But you can either snag one, and once you have it, a lot of times they won't even bother attacking. Or what you could do is just plain out hit them, which isn't too hard to do usually. But as you can see, there are tons of them. Look at that. All these people, bots. Except for that guy, he's too slow, he's not a bot. Look at that, it's so sad. But I usually kill this 73 and then a 79, I believe it is, right there. 79 that spawns there. Or on this side of the screen, there's that 73 that's harder to get to because the bots get it quick. That 84. And that 79 right there, I believe is what I kill. So after I get 40 kill count, I will resume at the Armadyl door. Now I have 40 kill count, and I want to double check my quick prayers, and I keep that off and that off and that off. Really, all you really need is deflect range, and if you're in the weaker armors, you could put deflect or leech defense on, and if you want a faster kill at the cost of more prayer points, you can put leech range on. But for this purpose, really, you only need deflect range. And since I'm soloing, I'll go ahead and put that on anyways, just to be extra sure. Once you make sure those are on, Hands Excalibur, you renewal first, overload, and spec. And you can either wait, or you could find the werewolf around here, or that bloodveld. You don't want to do an Arma, because you could use the Arma kill count to see how many kills you've been in the solo. But the bloodveld and the werewolf are pretty newbie. You can kill them real quick. And I say my health is good enough. So I'm going to go in. You want to have diamonds equipped on rapid. Get the Dreadnought screen ready. Make sure you're praying range before you enter the door, or you will get destroyed. Go in the door and attack Kree. And you want to stay attacking at all times, because if you don't attack, Kree will come in for a melee attack and can hit you with the feet, which it's not very fun. but I have my screen on bloom right now, which makes it well, almost impossible to see which attack she's doing. But there's a white tornado, which signifies her range. Actually, it creates a him, so his range attack. And then a blue tornado, which signifies the mage attack. And really, the damage from Kree is going to be minimal, and almost all the damage you're going to take is from the minions themselves. So you want to just make sure your life point stays high, and activate your aura after you take some damage, if you use vampirism, which I recommend. The other one I would recommend would be penance or reverence. Those are all good. As you can see, I'm not hitting the greatest, and I'm taking a decent amount of damage. I usually keep myself around 700 or so, unless I know my overload is going to run out, which then I allow myself to drop a little further. And since I activated the aura, I have not hit once, so that's always a good sign. Putting that vampirism to good use by not hitting. But anyways, after you kill Kree, you're going to want to keep the range prayer on and soul split flick on the mage and then the melee. And you want to keep the range for last, because if you're most likely you're not going to kill all three before Kree spawns again. And if you do, you're not going to have much time. So I recommend leaving the range for last, or setting it up by half killing it the previous kill if you want to pray at the altar. And a few times I've soloed and I killed the ranger first and then left the melee for last, as you would in like a trio or duo. And it did not turn out pretty. I didn't die, but I had to definitely panic click the prayer button. As you can see, the unicorn does pretty good about keeping me healed. I haven't had to brew yet, but then again, I am keeping my health kind of low. It wouldn't hurt to eat here, but the unicorn does its job and Kree gets dropped. And runite bolts. But when you're killing the ranger, you want to stand right here, aligned with this pillar, and also aligned with one step over from this pillar. And that way, if Kree does spawn, you have time to get your quick prayers back on. See, she meleeed me anyways, but that could have been a good fight. And now the ranger is half killed, so next time around I can kill it first and have it out of the way, since it's already halfway down. And the polypore does seem to do pretty good on the ranger. So after my armor trip, I got 2 chest plates and a hilt, which was amazing. I started off 4 kills in, I got my first chest plate. Another 4 kills later, I got my second chest plate. And 14 kills after that, I got my hilt. I stayed for a little bit afterwards, a total of an hour and a half, 3 overload flasks. And the last kill and a half, I did not have any unicorn, because it died, I didn't bring enough. And I still managed to have over a whole brew left, with still plenty of prayer. So that shows that if you really put forward to it and have a decent gear setup, that Armadyl can be very profitable, even through a long dry period. After this video, I will make another video. Most likely Glaycores will be next, or I might do Saradomin while I have the Pernix. I hope my Armadyl solo guide is helpful in anyone who wishes to solo Arma and has no experience. It is my first bossing guide that I have ever made, so hopefully I will improve with time over the next bosses that I will do.